2 days ago, a man murdered his wife and then killed himself. This particular man was co-host of an atheism-themed podcast. I did not know him at all well, but we were Facebook friends. I and many of his other Facebook friends were able to follow the events surrounding his murder-suicide by reading the updates that were posted in the comment section beneath his final status update and the confused, frantic, angry, and mournful replies to those updates. It's still unclear exactly why this happened. They were reportedly about to begin divorce proceedings, and many have speculated that was the primary motivation, but I don't know. All I do know is that their young children suddenly find themselves without parents. And my condolences and sympathies, inadequate though they are, lie with those children. My heart goes out to them for whatever that's worth. I'm not going to make this video about this particular crime or this man. I'm not even going to mention his name. If you don't know what I'm talking about, there are articles linked in the description of this video that can catch you up. Instead, I want to talk about something else. I want to talk about a broader problem of which this crime is but one of many examples. Jessica Shao put it this way in a Facebook status update posted after news broke of the aforementioned murder-suicide. She wrote, "I'm angry that women face the possibility of being murdered when men can't handle rejection." Let's be clear, intimate partner violence, defined as violence committed by one partner in a current or former intimate relationship against another partner from that relationship, happens to people of all gender identities. When the title of this video says that it's not gender neutral, that's not the point I'm trying to make. Men, women, non-binary people, gender fluid people, agender people, all gender identities experience intimate partner violence. But let's be equally clear on this point. All gender identities do not experience it equally. According to the U.S. Centers for Disease Control's 2010 National Intimate Partner and Sexual Violence Survey, 28% of men experience some kind of intimate partner violence at some point during their lives. But according to a review of existing research by the Williams Institute in 2015, between 31 and 50% of transgender people experience intimate partner violence during their lifetime. And while, again, according to the 2010 NISVS, the percentage of women who experience intimate partner violence is only a few points higher than that of men, just under 33% compared with just over 28%, when you break those numbers down into more specific categories, the gender disparity widens dramatically. Women are far more likely than men to have experienced severe physical violence. The NISVS found that 24.3% of women had experienced severe physical violence from an intimate partner, compared with 13.8% of men. Women are also much more likely to have been hit with a fist or hard object, kicked, slammed against something, hurt by choking or suffocation, or beaten. The statistics for homicides are even more lopsided. A report published by the CDC earlier this year found that 55% of female homicide victims were killed by intimate partners. And in 98% of those cases, the killer was male. A separate study published in 2015 by the Violence Policy Center examined murder-suicides. That study found that 72% of murder-suicides were the result of intimate partner violence, 76% of victims were women, and 89% of killers were men. These numbers all refer to the United States, but a 2016 report on intimate partner violence from the United Kingdom's Office of National Statistics shows a similar pattern, and numbers on the global prevalence of intimate partner violence and violence against women published by the World Health Organization bear this out as well. Because of the case I mentioned at the beginning of this video, it's those numbers about murder-suicides that resonate most strongly with me at the moment. 72% of murder-suicides are committed by intimate partners, most of those with men as the killers and women as their victims. Men are over 3 times more likely than women to die as a result of suicide. That is a tragedy unto itself and is beyond the scope I have defined for this video. But if we are to consider the interlocking problems of intimate partner violence and murder-suicides, I think we must ask ourselves why so many men who feel the need to end their own lives also feel entitled to end the lives of their girlfriends, wives, or exes. Over the last several months, the news has been filled with countless examples of the ways in which men feel entitled to the bodies of women and of how little so many of us seem to care about the pain of abused women. Roy Moore, a man with a history of inappropriate conduct toward teenage girls, is currently polling ahead of his opponent in a race to fill a vacant U.S. Senate seat. And, lest we ever forget, Donald Trump was elected president after publicly harassing and degrading women throughout his life and being caught on tape bragging about the ease with which he is able to sexually assault women. Most recently, stories of sexual harassment and assault, mostly with men as the abusers and women as their targets, have poured out of every corner of our culture: entertainment, the news media, sports, politics. And while the details of each case are unique, the basic story being told is nearly always the same. A man who had failed to consider or willfully disregarded the rights of a woman did with her as he saw fit because he had the power to do so. That's also the story for the great majority of intimate partner murder-suicides. A man disregards the rights of a woman in order to do as he wishes. And in these cases, the right of the woman being disregarded is perhaps the most basic and precious right of all, the right to live. Immediate causes and motivations differ from incident to incident, but every single one of these intimate partner murder-suicides occurs within the context of a culture where, in ways obvious and subtle, women are devalued. Gender inequality exists everywhere, and in almost every circumstance, it disadvantages women. It limits opportunity, it diminishes quality of life, it enables exploitation and violence. It has been this way for so long that most of us, whatever gender we are, just take it for granted. It's just the way things are. But it's not the way things have to be. There's a modern aphorism paraphrased from Margaret Atwood that says, "Men are afraid women will laugh at them. Women are afraid men will kill them." That doesn't have to be the world in which we live. Gender inequality and all of its consequences, including the violent ones, are part of a status quo which we all help to maintain and which we all have the power to help overturn. I don't pretend to know how to fix this problem, but I do know that we will never fix it until more people, and most especially more men, acknowledge that the problem exists and that we bear the greater share of responsibility for it. We have got to be a lot more proactive in identifying and addressing the numerous ways in which gender inequality and the misogyny and male entitlement that feed it manifest themselves in every area of our lives, in our popular culture, in our communities, in our families, and most importantly, in ourselves. And on a related but separate note, tragedies like the one I describe at the beginning of this video often happen with a stunning quickness, where there is no time for prevention or consideration. But if you're watching this and you are contemplating harming yourself or harming someone close to you, please tell someone. If you're able to seek out professional counseling, do so. And if not, reach out to a friend. Tell them what you're feeling. Get some help before it's too late. One of the subtle ways in which gender inequality manifests itself is in how women are marginalized even within their own stories. They become supporting players used to further narratives centered on men. This happens a lot in fiction, and it also happens in real life. The story that I began this video with is an example of such a thing. The name of the man who killed his wife and himself is easy to find, but I've had a much more difficult time finding accounts of this event that refer to her as anything other than his wife. She had a name. Her name was Jennifer. And she deserved better.